Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Andrew Donovan. GMAC is back. It's called the McNamara. Gerry McNamara returning to Syracuse University as head basketball coach. He was welcomed to campus this week with a pep rally, a really special event. We begin with incoming Chancellor J. Michael Haney welcoming GMAC back.
What stood out wasn't just his resume, which is impressive. It wasn't just the results, though they speak for themselves. It was actually something more fundamental. It was that every person who worked with Gerry, every reference that we talked to, whether it was a player, a colleague, or a coach, said the same thing. They said he makes people better, he holds them to a high standard, he cares about them as people, not just as athletes, that he's the kind of leader that we would want for our student athletes, because at the end of the day, this is a university, and everything we must do needs to center on our students. If we're going to build a championship program, it has to be about more than wins. It has to mean that young people who come to Syracuse University leave here better. They leave here better competitors, sure, but also better people. People who are ready for whatever comes next, who represent the university with pride, who look back on their time here and say that this place changed them. I am confident that Gerry McNamara will build that kind of program while returning Syracuse basketball to the national prominence that it deserves. So my last thing is an ask of all of you, to everyone here and everyone watching. It's important that we make clear that you have a role to play here as well. Your job is to show our student athletes, our new head coach, what it means to have the full force of the Orange Nation behind them. Your job is to pack the dome and once again make it the most electric environment in college basketball. Yeah! I had like 5 more lines, but I think I should stop right there on that moment. But please show up, be loud, because I think when this community shows up for whatever it is, there's nothing quite like it. So, Gerry, we're still getting to know each other a little bit, but hear this clearly. You heard it from John. You're going to have everything you need to succeed. You have the full support of this administration, our board, Brian, John, the entire athletics department, and everyone in this room and beyond. You came here from Scranton to compete. You went to Albany to coach. Now you're coming home to build. We're ready. Go Orange.
We now hear from the incoming Director of Athletics for Syracuse University, Brian Blair.
We had a lot of conversations with a lot of individuals, and some of them asked, well, what's it like to coach when Coach Boeheim is in the building and his name's on the court? What's it like to stay on the sideline when you've got one of the world's best basketball players as a parent and an alum sitting courtside at a game? What's it like to coach when you have 25,000 people and the fan base is PO'd that they don't have even more there to cheer on, right? What's it like to coach in that spotlight? And so many of them withered, or they asked questions, and you could tell they were a little afraid of the moment. There was one person that never flinched when you asked that question, and the only thing he said was, let's go. That was Gerry McNamara. So we had that conversation, and we're talking. I said, well, what do you need? And he says to me, I need to win, and I need to win now. And from that moment on, I remember going back to my home to my wife and telling her, there's something different about this guy. There's something special here. And then I had a really good friend text me a video of Gerry's jersey retirement here many moons ago. We're getting old, man. And to see the buses from Scranton, the tears, the excitement, and to see that come full circle today, this is truly, truly a special, special moment. So why is this important, right? All of you are here. You're obviously bought in. You believe in what we're trying to do in college athletics. You believe in this basketball program. But for those maybe watching through the camera that don't know, why is basketball important? It's really important, centrally, one, for this university, right? We are in the business of higher education, educating young people, but we also want anybody connected to this university to wear that orange with pride and be really proud about being from Central New York, connected to this university, and all that it represents. So often athletic programs are not the most important thing that happen at a university by any stretch of the imagination, but they are one of the most visible, and they all do esteem, this self-esteem for a place, for a people that we collectively feel really proud of what we're a part of. And I think having one of our own lead our program is certainly a step in the right direction. So what is the vision? What is the next step? I think we need a couple things from everybody. One, we need 110% from everybody in this room, everybody watching online, everybody connected to Syracuse athletics, right? And what does that 110% look? It looks different for everybody. For some, it's buying an extra tub of popcorn. For others, it's buying extra t-shirts. So when you're in California, Washington, or Texas, you're a walking billboard for all that's great about this place. For others, it's financially supporting this program to make sure we continue to lead and be at the cutting edge for basketball and all of our programs as we continue to try to chase excellence. I can promise you this. We are committed to making sure our program has the resources. We're committed to making sure our program has the support. We're committed to weaponizing the dome. We're committed to Gerry McNamara.
Coming up on Newsmakers, what everyone was waiting for, Gerry McNamara. Welcome back to Newsmakers. We go back to that pep rally held this week at the GMA Wireless Dome to welcome the new head coach. Here he is now, finally, Gerry McNamara.
He outcoached me, he outcoached us. He's a tough competitor who's won at the highest level. That's who he's been his entire life that I've known him, as a competitor.
We chose Gerry McNamara to be the next leader of our men's basketball program. And for the third time in his life, Gerry McNamara and his family chose Syracuse. I need everybody in this room to choose this moment and make sure we take this moment and create some momentum. So please stand up in a loud ovation for your next head basketball coach, Gerry McNamara.
I love you too, and you know it. It's like an old Georgetown game where people couldn't even see the court when I'm looking back here. I can't even tell you how honored, how blessed I am for this moment to be here. It really is kind of a dream come true for us. You know, but you don't get to these moments single-handedly. You know, it's not a solo mission. I've had a ton of help along my journey. And this past 2 years was a really rewarding one for us, for my wife, our kids, to get the opportunity to be a part of the Siena community. Now, 26 years ago, it's terrifying, I know, but 26 years ago, the first time I walked through Gate A, probably right around here, and saw the dome for the first time. The GMA Wireless Dome for the first time. And I looked down, and it was the summer camp, so the courts were on. And I knew, man, I knew right away. That was the first time you saw me, Coach. I knew right away. I'm coming to school here. Well, you had to offer me that night, and you did, so smart man. Yeah, second guess. But I went home, and you know, my imagination ran wild. Like envisioning a packed house, you know, championships, making threes, hopefully, you know, making threes, you know. And I'll tell you what happened. I came here, and for the next 4 years, Coach, what happened? Packed house, championships, and threes, a lot of them. But there was a different experience. There was something else that happened during this 4-year stretch of my experience. What happened was my love. My love grew for the people of this city, for the university that gave me an opportunity to showcase my gifts on the biggest stage. And I knew that it was going to be difficult one day to leave here. So I didn't. And I don't plan on it anytime soon. Now, here's the reality, all right? We've got work to do. We do. But this right here is what separates us from 99.9% of college basketball. Yeah, it's a fact. Yell it louder. It's a fact. Yep. Now, we're going to put together an elite staff here. All right, elite at skill development. They're going to have character, experience, multiple levels, both from the grassroots level to the NBA level. Some familiar faces, some new faces. And what we're going to do when we get the staff together a week from tomorrow starts the portal, and the frenzy starts. All right, and that's when recruiting happens. Now, recruiting's where it's got to start is right here at home base. Right here. All right, the first part of recruiting has to be retention. All right, the cupboard ain't bare here, guys. I watched this group. There's some talent with this roster. Now, those conversations they've been taking place. I've met with these guys last week. I'll meet with them again this week out of privacy for them because they have opportunities, representation. We'll keep those private, and we'll see what we could do with some of these guys to move the program forward. But they will be taking place this week, those conversations. But I've done this. This will be the second time in my career doing it. My message here does not change. It doesn't change. Every team that I coach, that we put on the court, is going to be ready to play. They will be prepared. Now, you could talk about style. A lot of coaches will come up here and be like, we're going to play fast. It's like a lot of people will do that. We were #1 in offensive efficiency in our league, and we were a top 15 team in the country in defensive points per game allowed. So what am I bringing here? Efficient. We're going to be efficient. We're going to be smart. We're going to have ball security. We're going to be tough, resilient. We're going to have high character. I ask every kid that plays for me in every recruitment, I said, I need your respect and your maturity, non-negotiable. Give me those two things. Give me those two things, we'll get along just fine. But make no mistake, you know why I'm here. Anybody that knows me knows why I'm here. I'm here to win. It's who I am, and it's who I will always be. Let's get this thing going.
Coming up on Newsmakers, Gerry McNamara answers reporters' questions. We're back after this. Newsmakers is back. Now we hear from head coach Gerry McNamara, taking questions from reporters in the Dome's press room.
People are looking to you as the savior of the program, really. What kind of pressure does that place on you?
And no more than I already put on myself. I think it's magnified here than my previous spot, but you wouldn't believe the chest pressure I had when we lost 3 in a row at Siena last year. Like it's, coaches, we take it home with us. You can't shut it off. So it's no different here than what I already felt in terms of the responsibility. So I understand. I understand it, and we need to get back. But I already kind of put a lot of pressure on myself and have high expectations of what we're capable of doing. So, we've got to be careful. I think this society nowadays, we pay a little too much attention to social media and what people have to say. I do my best not to. So I've just got to keep my head down like I always have. I wouldn't have gotten very far if I always listened to what people said about me from the time I was a player. So I'm not worried about outside pressure or any of that. I'm worried about who's in these walls, who's with us, who's our roster, who's our staff, and create that bubble. And you got to strengthen it as you go. So, I have high expectations for what we're capable of doing.
Justin Gershon, the Daily Orange. Coach, I'm just wondering, what's your vision for kind of building this program, and maybe how does your upbringing kind of play a role in how you want to do this?
Well, I like the way we looked at the end of this year, even with Siena. If you look at a lot of these teams playing now, they've got positional size. It's what we're kind of, we'll be very strategic of the best we can here over the next few weeks of having some athletes and some size, being able to offensive rebound, still be able to shoot. I don't know what my upbringing and I'd say more so than my upbringing in coaching, more so than my upbringing and my actually upbringing by my parents. It's just I've been through a lot. I've been through this phase. I've coached a lot of different personalities, and I think what I like to think of myself most as is a motivator, leader. And as you hit a strange time in college basketball where you might only have a kid for a year or two, I think those characteristics are pretty important to try to do your best to make sure that you mold a team within that time frame. So I feel like my coaching journey has kind of prepared me for that.
Welcome home, Coach.
Thank you.
You touched on family aspect there a little bit. I want to know when this drive began out of you from a young age and how your parents instilled that in you.
My dad was a hoop junkie, but I don't know any of the older heads in here if they've ever seen the NBA Superstars. Did you ever see that video? It's amazing if you haven't. But as a kid, I watched NBA Superstars, and I must have watched it a million times. If you put it on right now, I'd know every play of it. It wasn't that I was pushed into it. I loved it. And because I loved it, my father gave me as much of it as I could absorb. Different leagues, key to the gym. We were lucky to have a key to Holy Rosary down the street. Because his best friend was my coach, Teddy Bloom. So, it wasn't forced upon me. It was just, I had a genuine love for the game. And, when you love something, you want to do it all the time. And when you do it all the time, you want to be really good. And to be really good, you got to beat other people. And that's probably how it just all evolved.
When Newsmakers continues, a blast from the past, how Coach Boeheim feels about the change. Does he approve or back after this? Newsmakers is back after that pep rally welcoming Gerry McNamara back to Syracuse University. I was able to talk with former head coach Jim Boeheim about how he feels about this transition. Coach Boeheim, you just saw one of your star players of your career become a successor to your job. What was that like?
Well, he's the most competitive player I think I've ever had, and I think that's what translates into coaching, that competitive attitude and spirit. He's proven himself as a head coach, and he loves Syracuse, and Syracuse loves him. That's a good combination to have.
A lot of nostalgia. He referenced a lot of the, back in the day, 25 plus years ago. What was it like to hear that?
It's great to see that stuff. He knows what it takes. The fans are great. They're behind you. And when you win, they'll be behind you, and he'll get that done.
How is college basketball different today than when you retired? How is he a different next steward of the program than perhaps Autry was?
Well, I don't know. I think a lot of it comes down to resources. I think we've been a little short there. I think we got to step up there. That's important. But, he's done his job. He's worked hard to be a head coach. He's turned around a program, and I think he's the man for this job.
Did you watch his game against Duke?
I did.
What'd you think?
They had an unbelievable shot to win that game. At the end of the game, I think Duke would win that game by 35 points or something, but they were right in it the whole way, and it's always interesting to note that they weren't happy that they got close. They wanted to win, and that's who Gerry is. He wants to win games, and that's what it takes.
Last question. The excitement in this room, very, very noticeable, very high energy. What was it like to be in here? Does it remind you of the past in any way?
Yeah, we have great fans, great support. We always have. That's the key to winning basketball games and winning programs. You have to have supportive fans. If you don't, you are not going to win games. And we have that. They've hung in there. We haven't been great, but they've hung with us. And I think the future is going to be very good for our fans.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time. Good to see you.
We wish Coach McNamara all the success in the world, hopefully getting SU back into championship territory, and we welcome the McNamara family back to Central New York. That does it for Newsmakers. For all the hardworking people of News Channel 9, have a great weekend.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.